Welcome back to Retirement News Online, and today we're going to talk about managing risk in retirement. And I think when people think about the word risk in retirement planning, they're really talking about assets and market risk, but there's a whole host of other risks, like how long are you going to live? And a lot of people are living way longer than they thought they were going to be, and we have to pay for that. There's policy risk, there's inflation risk, there's taxation risk. Anyway, we're going to cover some of that with my guest, Trent Miles. He's an advisor and a radio host with Tribute Wealth Management right there in Los Angeles, California. So talking about market risk, aside from that, what other risks do you spend managing when you're talking to a client about making sure, number one, the risk is appropriate for their goals, and number two, they're going to not run out of money?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to look at. One of the things that we always talk about, though, is health care and long-term care. That's one of the biggest risks retirees will face. A couple reaching the age 65, they have something like a 70% chance of one of them reaching the age 90. So, you have longevity risk, and the longer we live, it's wonderful, but the more chances we have of having end-of-life stuff that is going to cost a lot of money and put a drain on our portfolio. So I mean, taxes are another thing, but I put a lot of time into managing longevity, making sure they never run out of money, and long-term care and health care.
And then, so let's talk about how you manage longevity risk, because we have people who are now going to, as you said, I think I just read another stat that says if you're 68 years old and you really don't have any major health problems, your life expectancy is 92.
Yeah.
So that's 25, 30 years, maybe 40 years in retirement, depending on the person. Now, I guess intuitively I would think, well, we have to protect what they worked so hard to build, but we still have to keep our foot on the gas pedal, right? We got to get some growth going at the same time. You can't normally do that most of the time, right? Because you're an advisor. You have to add risk to get growth. You have to de-risk to protect. What do we do in between?
Yeah. Well, that's where that T presentation comes in, where we build everybody guaranteed income. Every client I sit down with, I look in the eye and I say, would you like me to build you hypothetical income in retirement, or would you like me to build you guaranteed income in retirement? I've yet to have a client say, please build me a hypothetical scenario. Right. Everybody wants guaranteed. So that's one of the ways that we make sure that they never run out of money. We're going to take their budget, and we are going to make sure whatever their budget they need in retirement, they have enough guaranteed income streams between Social Securities, pensions, annuities, and real estate, that they have enough money coming from those categories. The rest of their money, because you said, what are they going to do to not run out of money? You still need good upside, right? So the rest of that money is left in the market with our investment team, and we're able to manage that. But because we've de-risked the portfolio a little bit by guaranteed income, it allows us to put the gas pedal down on your investments as well, and it works very, very well.
And you mentioned healthcare risk, which is really important because a lot of people don't even think about that. A lot of people, when they get into retirement, they want to travel. They don't realize a lot of that travel is going to be the doctor's office. And Medicare covers some of that, but let's just talk about long-term care. So there's a 70% chance, I think, that if you're 65, that you're going to need some form of long-term care at some point, which means 7 out of 10 people. And long-term care these days, which is not covered by Medicare enough, is really expensive. How do you manage that?
That's very expensive. So one of the things that we do, I don't like to buy just straight up long-term care policies, because it's a use it or lose it type of thing. And there are some people that will never need long-term care, and then they just put into something, never get a benefit for. So nowadays you can buy hybrid policies. So you can buy a life insurance policy that has long-term care in it. But if you never get sick, you get to take the income out tax-free for a retirement income, and there's a death benefit. So eventually your family is going to get something paid out. There's also different annuities nowadays that you can put kind of a rider, or that gives you a 2 times multiplier, that when your account grows, the multiplier grows at a 2x multiple, and that's what you get to use for long-term care. So there's a lot of better hybrid options out there. We live in California, and there's a lot of people that are property rich and cash poor out there. So the last thing we would do is use the real estate as the piece to fund their long-term care, maybe get a reverse mortgage or something like that if they had to. Those are kind of the things that we look into to make sure people have that long-term care covered.
And I think finally, too, you know, the way things are going in markets right now, it's like at the time of this conversation, the market's doing pretty well, probably better than we thought it would do, considering everything appears to be overvalued. But you've got people who are still worried about market volatility, you know, what's going to go on with Social Security. There's a lot of misinformation out there. How do you take a client who comes in sort of unsure, not confident, to give them the confidence that they can go through retirement and make it the way that they hoped they would make it?
I love that question because, first of all, I hate sales, even though I'm kind of in this industry. And to me, it's all about answering that peace of mind. So if I sell anything, it's peace of mind. And almost everybody that comes into my office is exactly what you described. They have X amount of dollars. They don't know if it's enough. They don't know what they don't know, right? And so you kind of have to go through this education process. But once you go through it with them and you get down into the trenches with them and you put a portfolio together and they start to understand it, that like relief in that, they kind of almost sigh and it's like, good. All right, now I know that they're taken care of. That's my favorite part of what I do. Get in the trenches and help people have that peace of mind, and they walk out of my office feeling more confident about their portfolio versus the opposite.
You get to say, you're going to be okay.
That's my favorite. And most people are going to be okay. Most people just live in that fear. They hear things on the news and they come in, I have X amount of dollars, is it going to be enough? Well, absolutely it's going to be enough, and let me show you how. And we go through that whole process.
Yeah, and some people with a lot more assets, they're not going to necessarily run out of it, but there's some things that could happen that you have to plan for. And why not get the best out of it? You know, let's quit losing money. Let's keep growing, and let's elevate your lifestyle in retirement. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely, and make sure that you have the trusts and everything in place to when you eventually pass, it gets passed to that next, because the better you do, the more money you're going to pass, right? But make sure that it's set up right so the government doesn't come and get their hands on it and take, and those assets don't pass the right way to your family. So having that trust is important as well.
So you don't want the government's plan, you want your plan.
100%.
That's right. So that's another thing that he talks about and does as legacy planning, estate planning. You do a lot of stuff, Trent. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
He is Trent Miles with Tribute Wealth Management in Los Angeles. You can hear him on K-Earth Radio and Coast, both Saturday and Sunday mornings. And this is Retirement News Online. Thanks for watching.